Jason Morris with real estate agents that really work. And I got on the call today. I've got the only real estate coach that can go by one name. He's the prince of the real estate coaching, Borino.
I like that intro. Good thing you
How's
didn't say
everything going
Madonna.
today,
God damn.
I didn't think about Madonna. Prince was the first one that came to mind. But so man, I've heard a lot about you when I started asking about like people that hey, who can I interview that would be really cool or really interesting and knowledgeable. Your name came up multiple times, and then I'm at home talking with my girlfriend, and I kind of knew who you were. I'd heard your name and stuff, and then I'm at home talking to her, and I'm like kind of sharing the list with her, and she's, oh, I like that guy's YouTube stuff, and then since then I hear about you all the time. But for the people that don't know who you are, can you tell a little bit about yourself and what you do now?
Sure. Well, thanks for having me, Jason. I really appreciate it. I was looking forward to talking with my fellow man who is out there crushing it every day. I was born and raised in Czechoslovakia. I was an actor. I did my first commercial when I was 4 months old for diapers. And both my parents were actors. Back then, Czechoslovakia was a communist country, and I got in trouble. I guess it was my big mouth that hasn't changed up till now. And so at the age of 24, I left. I defected from Czechoslovakia, went to London first, then to California, to Los Angeles. And after about a year being in the country, I saw an ad in the newspaper, and I decided this is awesome. I can become a real estate agent, make 6% out of every transaction, drive a fancy car, wear nice clothes. So I took the free course and started working in LA suburbs, Bellflower, Whittier, Pico Rivera area. So that was my start.
Yeah. Now, I'm not trying to date you or anything, but around what year was that?
89 was a great time to be in real estate. So picture this, Jason. Interest rates about 13, 14%. About 40% of our inventory foreclosures and REO-owned properties. Nothing selling. Nobody wants to buy anything because the market is going to tanks. People crying when you're presenting them your CMA. No joke. So really good time to jump in. I just didn't know. Many of the things I've done in my life, looking back, it's like, what the fuck was I thinking? But, it was what it was.
You get in the worst possible time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but,
That's it. Well, that's how it was in 2008. I remember 2008, 2009.
Yeah.
I was going to people's houses, and they were telling me they owed $250,000 on the house, and I was going, guys, we can get you 110. And
ouch.
So that put me in the position where instead of saying, hey, how about listing your house, I was taking a management agreement and leasing the house out for them.
Yeah.
And I did that because out of necessity. Everybody was upside down, and the banks had closed up. Interest rates were good, but nobody could get a loan.
Yeah.
The people that could get a loan are the people that didn't need a loan,
Yeah, but you can totally relate to that then. The thing is, if you learn the ropes in such a hard, difficult times, then when things turn around, you can adjust faster because if it's this bad when I'm starting, it's only going to get better. And it's pretty good for you at least right now, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for me, I've kind of had my ups and downs in the business. I had a team a few years ago, then I downsized, and really it's me and some buyer's agents now. And I've just started kind of rebuilding a team. But my best years in the business were when everybody else was talking about how bad the business was.
Yeah.
And honestly, those were the years I've enjoyed it the most. The quality of agent I was dealing with was really high. Not saying anything bad about agents nowadays, but when our market goes into an upswing, everybody wants to go into the real estate business.
Oh, that is true. Especially in Southern California, every bored housefrau gets her license, because she's bored watching QVC all day. So, yeah, that is true.
And everybody thinks, hey, I can go be a real estate agent. So they get their license, and so where 3 or 4 years ago, the agents I was dealing with were experienced, they were super knowledgeable about the market and stuff. Versus the agents I'm dealing with today, there's a good chance the agent that may send me a contract this afternoon on a listing will probably be a brand new agent, and this will probably be one of their first offers, if not their first.
Yeah.
And I tell people this is actually like the hardest time to be in the real estate business right now.
Yeah.
Especially in these markets like I don't know how you feel about this, but these markets like Southern California that are on fire, man, they can't. I know we got a mutual friend, William May. He's in a market that he telling me the area had 3 listings on the market the other day. I mean,
Ouch.
when you're in a market like that, things suck, and it's very discouraging.
Yeah. Well, you know what it is?
So,
At the end, there is a market where you're going to find people who need to buy or sell, or both. And then there's times are good, times are bad, but there will always be people who will need a competent, knowledgeable, pleasant professional who is honest and who's going to work hard to help them, regardless of the market.
you're right.
You know what I mean? It just what changes is the conditions, how you run your business, how you generate leads. Other than that, I think somebody like yourself, you've been hustling, you know what it's like to be out there and generate business. You're going to figure it out that regardless of what's going on outside, there will be people who need you. That's really the bottom line.
You're right. Well, you've got such an amazing story, and I want to tell people the story I've heard. My understanding is when you started the real estate business, you were actually living in your car.
Well, not when I started, but close. I got into real estate thinking, well, this is going to make me a lot of money real quick, and I'm going to bring my parents from Czechoslovakia. We're going to go in limo everywhere and stay in fancy hotels and fly first class and all that, those big dreams that we all have. And many people crush it from the beginning in real estate. That was not my case. I guess I'm a slow learner or something. I don't know. So 2 years into the business, and I was doing the stuff. I went to all the training and I went to the workshops and I got the free tapes and all that. But 2 years in, I got kicked out. I was renting a little house, not even a house, just a room down in California. And things got so bad, the lady kicked me out. I was like over 2 months back on the rent, and that was only like $400 if I didn't even have that. So I got this from another agent who sold it to me on payments for $470, and I was making like $50 a month payment. He sold me a Cadillac DeVille. Now, I don't know if you know, Jason, but those are the big giant boats, those huge
That's
cars.
a big car.
So this was an old rust bucket. The passenger window wouldn't roll up half the time. It was giant. It was like 2 miles a gallon, I think, on a good day downhill. So this became not just my car, but office where I worked and my home. I slept in it. There was a little liquor store, and for those of you guys who know Pico Rivera, on Pico Boulevard, there was a liquor store. I don't know if it's there. I went back a few years ago, and I would just park behind it because they had these big lights. I guess they had trouble people breaking into the liquor store. And I felt safe there, so I would, at night, first I would try to stay in my office. We had a big Century 21 office where I worked at the time. But they would have night crew, and then the night crew would activate the motion alarm. So I was tripping the alarm at night, sleeping under my desk. So I got in trouble a couple times, so I couldn't do that anymore. So I stayed in my car. I slept in my car, not for too long. Fortunately, after a while, my friends kind of took pity. And at first, I didn't want to say anything to anybody. I was kind of embarrassed about it. So I was embarrassed and afraid to ask for help. But then I did, and my friends took me in, and then things kind of turned around. But yeah, that was kind of 2 years into the business. Woohoo! Thumbs up.
Well, man, that has to be. I mean, that has to be something tremendous to have to overcome just mentally.
Yeah.
And have the mindset to overcome that. I mean, how? For most of us, I mean, nowadays we're upset because, hey, a contract didn't go our way, or somebody stole our sign. Stuff that really isn't that big of a deal, and our mindset completely breaks down for the day. Somebody was mean to me on the phone, kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And but you're basically homeless. You were living in your car.
Yeah.
You had immigrated from another country 2 years before. I mean, that's a big deal. How did you develop the mindset to be able to get out of that and pull yourself out of that?
Well, 2 things happened at the same time, or 3 really. One, even when things were really bad, and they were really bad, I'm not going to kid you. I mean, living in a car is pretty depressing. You're tired, you feel embarrassed, you're cold, you're hungry. It's just bad.
Yeah.
But there was always this flame somewhere deep inside me that I always felt it's going to be all right. This is all temporary. It sucks, but it's going to work out. I always had this sense of hope and possibility. And I don't really know where it came from. I just kind of knew that I will sooner or later turn it around. So that was the first thing. And the second thing, I hit the rock bottom, in my opinion, for me. We all have different levels of rock bottom. This was mine. And
Yeah.
I said, all right, this is clearly not working. Whether I will stay in the United States or not, I got to do something different. I got to turn things around now. So it created a lot of pain. And as you know, you're of course familiar with Tony Robbins, the drive that drives us is either drive for pleasure and drive for pain. And this kind of experience, you know, sleeping in a car, being homeless, not having any money, I would literally walk into the grocery store and sneak a piece of bread or something I would steal just to eat. And I would go to Taco Bell, I don't know if they still have it, but they used to have a 49-cent bean burritos. And I would just gorge on those. Now, they're not really good for you, especially when you're in real estate, if you don't know what I mean. But, you know, back then it was food, so it was all right. So these two things, it was extremely painful, embarrassing, and difficult. And on the other hand, there was this sense of hope and possibility. And as they say, when the student is really ready, the teacher appears, and there were 3 people that appeared within like days in my life. The first one was Tony Robbins. I discovered the personal power. Back then it was cassettes. That's how way back we go. And I got a hold of it, and that changed my thinking. And I finally understood that a lot of the trials and tribulations of my life were a result of my beliefs, my expectations, and the thoughts I was carrying around, all that garbage I had in my head about how hard it has to be to make money, about how difficult it is to make money, and how hard you have to work and all that, which is just part of the equation, but not the whole thing. So I cleaned that up first.
Personal power too.
Have you done it? Have you done the Tony Robbins? Yeah?
Yeah, I've actually done personal power, I think 3 or 4 times.
Good stuff,
and
right?
every time I do it, I feel like I have a big breakthrough.
Yeah.
I mean, really, real estate agents that really work, me creating that group was a result of me doing personal power, too, the last time.
And you're empowering. You have, what, close to 2,000 people there. That is outstanding.
Actually, I got almost 4,000 now.
No shit. Oh, good for you, man. You're rocking it.
I got almost 4,000. Yeah, it's
good
growing
for you.
like crazy. But, yeah, that's actually a result of personal power, too, and working through that and saying, hey, I want to, I want to change things that are happening in the industry, and I want to help other people and help other agents. And I mean, and you're right. There's a lot of people that they just have beliefs that they don't deserve to make more money.
Yeah.
And
that's the crazy thing about this business, that it's a mental game first and foremost. You know it better than anybody. That if you don't believe you deserve it, if you don't believe you can do it, if you don't believe they can be fairly easy. It's not a simple, easy business, but it beats. We had a guy repair our neighbor across the street where we live. It was 98 degrees out there, almost 100% humidity, hot as crazy, and he's digging, sweating like crazy. Now that's hard work. So if somebody comes to me and tells me, oh, it's hard to call expired, I don't want to talk to FSBOs, they're rude, I'm like, fuck you, come on, look that's hard work. And the dude is making what, 10, 12, $13 an hour? That's hard. You sitting on the phone in some nice comfy office, come on, dude, and getting paid the amount of money you can make doing that? Bullshit.
You're right, man. So Tony Robbins was the first person that was introduced to you. Who was the other two?
The other two, the second one was my broker, Richard. Mr. Richard Romero, who I very much respect and I appreciate what he's done for me. I guess he took pity on me. He saw himself being an immigrant from Mexico. He owned the company and he saw the struggle. He heard about how I was living and all that. So he kind of helped me clean up and sent me to a couple of the workshops just to kind of get my act together. And it wasn't the workshop itself that I went to. It was a superstar retreat in Palm Springs, Mike Ferry's superstar retreat, which that was okay. But the breakthrough there was the third teacher that appeared, and that was a guy named Art Scott, who was a RE/MAX agent in San Francisco. Art passed away a few years ago, unfortunately, but he showed me expireds. And that was the breakthrough I needed to discover that you don't need to work leads that will take a year, 2 years to convert, that there is a whole gold mine of people that if you approach the right way with the right tools, you can convert very quickly. And I started doing that, and within 10 months, I bought a condo, I had a Mercedes, and met a lovely woman, and we spent 2 weeks in Italy, in Venice. So thanks to these changes, I was able to turn around very quickly.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I was a Mike Ferry person too. I was introduced to Mike Ferry like within 90 days of my getting started in real estate, and I just kind of embraced the whole Mike Ferry system. And I mean, I still think the general idea of Mike Ferry, I think, works.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, here's the truth about all these gurus and coaches. I like what the French say. They say, don't trust a skinny chef.
Yeah.
And that applies to real estate coaching as well. Be careful who you take advice from, because there are a lot of skinny chefs in this industry trying to get their hands into your pocket. But if somebody
You're right.
has done it, knows how to do it, knows what they're talking about, can relate to you, then there are many ways to make money in real estate. Mine is one of them. What you do, Jason, is something else. That's the cool thing, that there is not just one rigid path. You can pick what works for you, what resonates with you. I have nothing but respect for Mike. I met him. We had dinner at his house in Newport Beach. He's a good guy. And if you follow what he teaches, you're going to make money. No question about it. Follow what I teach, you're going to make money. If you follow what Jason tells you to do, you're going to make money. It really comes down to there are three things, really. And I talked about it yesterday, the day before. I was doing a workshop where I said there are only three parts to it: the right mindset, the right tools and systems, and action. And when you stumble, when you're not hitting the numbers you want to hit, when you don't have the lifestyle you want to have, either your mindset is off, you can fix that, read some books, go to some seminars like Jason was talking about, personal power, which is awesome. Then put some systems and tools in place. Doesn't need to be complicated or expensive. And then just take action. Work your ass off every day. That's really the secret. Would you agree with that?
I mean, that's it. Yeah. I mean, a lot of agents, that's where they miss it. They'll listen to me, and they'll listen to you, and they'll listen to all these different people, and they have the tools and they have the skill set they need. They'll go practice scripts, and the place where they miss it is they never actually take action.
Yeah.
Like there's an agent that's a friend of mine that calls me regularly, and they're a good person, really nice person. They're subscribing to RedX, they're subscribing to all the tools. They need to get data and all that stuff. And the problem is, they will look for every excuse they possibly can not to call or ever contact the people that they're being emailed or and that's the thing. They just fail when it comes to action.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I can give you, and you guys who are listening, by the way, thanks for joining us today. But one of the things I tell people, you go on this, you probably get it on your group, I get it on mine frequently, where people say, well, I hate cold calling expireds, or I hate calling FSBOs, or I hate that, I hate this. And my response is, who cares? Who cares how you feel about it?
That's right.
Nobody gives a shit. What you need to measure is this effective? Is this profitable? Will this get me leads, appointments, and listings? Not how you feel about it. How you feel about it is irrelevant. Change how you feel or do it regardless of how you feel. But what you need to do is what works. And if calling expired works, then do it. In other words, don't
any other job.
Yeah, don't let your emotions.
Any other job, and you didn't do what works, or you didn't do what they told you to do, and you constantly said, well, hey, I don't feel like doing that today, or I don't feel like showing up today, you would get fired.
That's a great point. Imagine you show up in the office and you say, well, I hate typing. I'm not going to type. I hate that.
Yeah, exactly.
You're out the door.
I mean, it's, you would get fired. If you didn't show up, to the office and you're getting paid hourly or salary at a regular job, you would get fired.
That's a really good point.
But agents think it's okay. They won't show up for 3 or 4 days to the office. They won't do anything for 3 or 4 days, and they think that it's okay.
Yeah, that's a really good point, yeah. So don't let your feelings get in the way. That should not be...
Yeah, nobody cares about your feelings.
Nobody cares. I mean, your bank account doesn't care, your spouse doesn't care, your kids don't care, your future doesn't care. It's irrelevant.
Yeah.
Either change how you do it or just keep doing it, It will change eventually. That's what happened to me. I hated door knocking at first, but because I was broke, that's all I could afford to do. I door knocked the whole city of Whittier twice. And yes, it got me listings and leads. It was hard, but it worked.
Yeah, it's hard. Some days, I'll tell you what, we had a hurricane 3 or 4 weeks ago here.
That's right.
Because it hit South Carolina. And, man, making calls the last week has sucked, because a lot of the objections I'm getting right now are dealing with storm damage, and people not wanting to put their house actually on the market because they don't want to put their house on the market before the insurance adjuster comes because they're worried about the insurance adjuster, the insurance not paying for their repairs. And I mean, it's a very valid concern,
Sure.
You know what I mean? And, when you get those objections over and over, and it's tough to overcome that, because I got the same thing going on at my house with waiting on insurance and insurance adjusters and hoping they'll repair stuff,
So how do you handle it? What do you do? What do you say?
with a lot of these people, I've actually went to the house and set appointments with them just like I normally do. I get out there, I look and see exactly what it is they're concerned about.
Mm-hmm.
And then I set, what I've been doing is going ahead and setting second appointments with them.
Oh.
Like I went out there, the guy, he had a metal roof. Half the metal roof was just, the wind just kind of flipped it up. And what I did was he was expecting an insurance adjuster to be out there. This was Tuesday. He was expecting the insurance adjuster to be there Wednesday. He had some guys lined up to work Thursday and Friday. So I said, I'll tell you what, how about if I set a time, and I've got another appointment with him, this coming Monday afternoon. So that's what I've been doing with these people is once I got, I'd go to the house, I'd go down through everything like I normally do, then I'd just go ahead and set a second appointment with them.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of them, there's just no way to overcome what their concern is, and it's valid concerns.
Sure.
It isn't a smoke screen you see sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And but you know what? That's going to last for 2 or 3 weeks, another 30 days. All that'll be gone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we'll be back to business as usual.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of to hit my numbers. I might have to go on an extra appointment or two here and there. I'm going to have to do a little bit extra follow up, but that's the only thing that's going to be different. That's the only thing that's really changed in my business because of the hurricane.
Yeah.
Fortunately, we didn't have floods or anything for it. But let me ask you, so you made a transition. Are you still selling real estate yourself now?
Not anymore. There came a point where I felt either really grow and do the team and do the expansions, and that never really appealed to me very much. And I kind of stumbled, just like most of the stuff in my life, I guess, when I'm looking back, onto coaching by accident, where my mother-in-law back then, this was in California, got her license, and she came to me. You used to do these expireds, can you show me how you do it? So I just wrote some notes for her, a few pages. Here's what I say, here's what I used to do, this was really good for me, see if you can do it. And within a very short period of time, she crushed it. She became like the #1 agent in her office. She bought a brand new car and said, this is genius, you should put a book together and teach others how to do that. So I put a book together, just kind of like, hey guys, this is what I used to do, and see if that works for you. And that's how the whole Expired Plus system was born. That was the first. Now we are on version 4, where we expanded it, we added marketing to it and all kinds of other stuff. But that's how it all started. And then people started to email me and call me and, can you show me, can you teach me, can we do this, can we do that? And from there, the whole Borino Productions and my coaching was born. That was, 11 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
So a new agent that just getting into the business, what would you recommend them to do? Or would you say, hey, this is
great
the first
question.
thing you need to get out there and do?
First thing, there are 3 things that I would recommend. First, put together maybe 2, maybe 3 lead generation funnels, systems, simple systems. Where are you going to get your leads? The reason we have such a high turnover in this industry, agents don't fail because they make too much money and the IRS is hunting them down. That's not the problem. It's a lead generation. They don't know how to get the business. They think it's a sales job. The leads will come to them and they will just chauffeur people around and play golf on the weekend. And we all know it doesn't work that way.
Of course. And a lot of them don't, they think the office is going to bring them business.
Right.
And I mean, very few you'll get very little business from your office.
Yeah. You get very little training in most offices too. You're kind of, my training was this, no joke. I worked for a company called Realty World in Bellflower, California. I got my license, walk into the office, my brand new $50 Mervin suit and a second-hand tie. And the broker says, okay, this will be your desk and here's the phone and good luck and we'll talk soon. And that was it. I'm like, fuck, what do I do now? You just kind of get thrown out there, and I'm sure many of you guys went through the same experience, similar experience.
That was pretty much my experience at my first office too. I mean, I had kind of an idea. I mean, I grew up, my dad was a contractor, my granddad built houses, and uncle built houses and stuff. So I'd been around the business a lot. So I had an idea of what went on. But before I got introduced to the Mike Ferry system, I was a little bit lost. I knew I needed a website. I had a degree in marketing and stuff. But my first office I was at, a guy told me, he said, you need to pick some neighborhoods and start sending mail to them.
Yeah.
And man, I didn't know what to do, and I really didn't have the money to send a lot of mail. I mean, I was right out of college. I was actually like 3 days out of college when I first started selling real estate. I didn't have the money to do a bunch of mail.
Yeah.
And this was in 2004. And I had the money to buy a domain name and start a website, but even that is a lot easier than it is now. But
Sure.
a lot of agents never get the idea they need to generate their own business,
Yeah.
so they never get.
So
the
that would
idea
be my
that-
recommendation. Focus on lead generation first, because that's really the lifeline. That's the blood of your business. And I would suggest start with the low-hanging fruit first. Start with the easy ones where it's not going to take you too long to follow up and convert them. Start with those who have been already identified, where you don't have to sift through a lot of names and a lot of numbers and a lot of homes to find one who wants to do something. So if I were to start all over again, like new license, no knowledge, no nothing, new area. First thing I would do is start working new and old expireds, start working for sell by owners, and get to know my sphere. Those would be the number one priorities. That's where my business first would come from before I did anything else. Because it would require very little investment in terms of cash. You can be up and running quickly, and you can start getting appointments very, very quickly doing these lead funnels, these sources. And then I would expand. I would start doing open houses, one every weekend. I would combine it with marketing. I would door knock the neighborhood, post a little ad on Craigslist, post a little ad on Facebook, and I would just work the shit out of it. But those would be my bread and butter. I would work the FSBOs daily, like you, Jason. I would work new expireds. I would work old expireds every single day, and I would get to know my sphere very well. My neighbors, I would connect with neighbors. I would connect with friends. Anybody that can be a resource, either can be a potential client or they know somebody who can be. If you just do that as a new agent, you're light years ahead of even the seasoned agents who don't know how to do it, or like Jason was saying, they don't feel comfortable doing it. So that'd be my plan.
They don't feel comfortable doing it.
Yeah, that would be my plan.
I mean, man, I feel like you just gave everybody a whole plan right there.
That's pretty much a whole plan. Now, if you guys want, I have this checklist. I built it first. Originally, we put it together for my private coaching clients, but I'll be happy to share with you. It's like just like a checklist of things you would do daily. It's called the Day on Fire. It's just a PDF, nothing fancy, just a lot of work. But if you follow it, you're going to get leads, you're going to get appointments and listings. So either I'll post it on your group. Why don't we do that in the files?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, please do. I appreciate it.
It's a Day on Fire. Just follow it. And it breaks it down like this. You're going to talk to 2 new expireds every day. You're going to contact 2 FSBOs every day. Stuff that you can do right now, even on a very tight budget.
Yeah, and all that stuff is like really easy stuff to do. You don't have to be real technical or anything.
Well, I have actually, I don't think it's easy. I think it's simple, but it's not easy.
Yeah.
Talking to strangers is not
simple.
easy. Being good at this is not easy. It's going to take some time. So going back to your question, what would be the things I would do? So this would be the first. I would prospect daily, work it daily. The second thing I would do, and this is really what helped me get up and running, not just with expired, but in business in general, I start practicing. Because being a foreigner, I had accent. Remember Borat? Remember the movie Borat or Perfect Strangers?
Yeah.
I sounded absolutely retarded and ridiculous. You wouldn't believe. It was horrible. So, not to mention I didn't know my dialogues. I didn't know what questions to ask. So I was just kind of lost. So I would get my buddy in my office and we would role play 30 minutes a day. Just like ping pong, back and forth. Setting appointments, handling objections.
That's how you overcome having that accent. I mean, right now, when you first answered the phone and we first chatted a few minutes, I was like, man, I thought this guy was from another country. But you've lost a lot of that, and a lot of that was from practicing.
But I tell you a secret. I actually keep a little bit of it, and I do it on purpose because it makes me sound different, and people can recognize me. They can identify me by that, So I now deliberately leave just a little bit in there just to kind of be a little cooler, like I'm drinking this tea right now. I know you can't see it, Jason, but it says just be cool, and it's this dude in sunglasses. So.
I had the a similar issue when I first started. I grew up in a really small town, and I had an extremely thick Southern accent when I first started selling real estate. I still have a Southern accent, but nothing like what I used to. And I had an extremely Southern accent, and on top of it, I looked like I was about 12. And I've lost a lot of that accent now, and a lot of it's just been from practice. And, of course, where I live now is Myrtle Beach, so we have people from literally all over the world. And But man, I think you have an amazing story. I think that, and I hear that. I hear agents lots of times with their problems and stuff, and yours. And I interviewed Blair Ballin a few weeks ago,
Mm-hmm.
and he mentioned in his interview that he was actually suicidal at one point.
Yeah.
And yours, you're living in a car, and I tell agents all the time, like everybody has problems.
Yeah.
Where I heard Brian Tracy say one time, and this is a quote that's just stuck with me. We're all in one of three places. We either just got through a problem, we're in the middle of a problem, or we have a problem coming up we don't know about yet.
Yeah. Oh boy, isn't that the truth? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we all deal with our own shit. You guys, every single one of you probably could share a story, and many of them, I'm sure, would be a lot tougher situations you've dealt with or are dealing with than I ever have, or you, Jason, or anybody else. And I guess a good life doesn't mean no problems. It just means you develop a certain fortitude, a power, and like the belief I was telling you about earlier, where you just know it's going to work out. Sooner or later, I'm going to figure this out, and it's going to be all right, and life will turn around. And I joke about it now.
Right.
I joke about it when I say I was broke, and now I'm not broke. I do all right, thank God, knock on wood. I appreciate the fortune that I have now, the good life. And I can tell you, having money is better. So don't struggle too much with it. Make a lot of money. Life will be better. Money will not solve all your problems, but it will solve all your money problems. And I can't tell you that
at least make things. It at least make the bad times easier if you have money.
Yeah, money stress, man, that will keep you awake, and that can ruin your psyche, your mind, everything. So there are tools, answers, and resources all around us how to make money. Don't make it harder than it is. It is not that complicated. It's not easy. Well, this is not an easy business. It will never be easy.
You're right.
That's why so many drop out. But if you stay with it, if you talk to Jason, if you go to the group, go to my group, find me or whoever you feel that resonates with you, who connects with you. And if you apply it, look around. There are agents making money in your neighborhood, in your town, in your office. Why not you?
You're right. I always tell people, hang out with the ones that are positive and actually doing things.
Oh,
the
boy,
guys
yes,
that are negative,
yes.
talking about how bad the market is and how they're broke and all that stuff.
Yes.
It's okay to be nice to them and say, hey, when you're at the office, but don't spend any time with them.
Yes.
It's gonna affect you. Sooner or later, you're gonna start having that same mindset they have. But if you're hanging around with the guys that are doing like a lot of deals, they're real positive, they're growing, they're growing on a personal level and a business level. Pretty soon you're going to be the same way. You're going to, you're going to start reading the same books as them. You're going to start talking about the same stuff. And
well, one of the things I used to do is take good agents to lunch. I would find agents who would list property in the neighborhood. I would see their names a lot. I would just say, hey, can I buy you a sandwich and a cup of coffee? Would love to talk to you, pick your brain just for a little while. And sometimes the ideas were practical and sometimes not. But what I observed is how they think, how they react, how they run their business, who they are, and what makes them tick. And that was incredibly valuable to me.
Yeah, I done the same thing. I done a little different. Like when I first got in the business, I saw where I just happened to be in the office one day and I saw the Realtor magazine with the top 30 under 30. Mm-hmm. And I picked up the magazine and I read that article, and then I went through and I contacted all those people. And
that's a great idea.
That is great. I mean, and unbelievably, most of them, this was in 2004, mm-hmm. most of them were very willing to, they're very open and willing to share.
That's today. And, that's still today. That's the case today. And I'm sure you can confirm that, Jason. People who make a lot of money in real estate, most of them will be nice and friendly and share. Yeah.
Yeah, like I told you, like whenever I hear about somebody doing something cool, even now, man, I track them down and I go, hey, what are you doing? How's that working?
Yeah.
Do you think I can do that here? And sometimes I want to do it here, and sometimes I don't. And sometimes it's just, time constraints. I can't do it. But
sure.
It's man, what I find is most people are, they're excited that they're being acknowledged because of their success. Mm-hmm. Number one, and number two, they're really happy anybody's noticing them. But number two, they're like pretty willing to share.
Yes.
Most of the successful agents I've found have a mindset of abundance.
Yes. And I think you said it right there. That's the secret. They know there's plenty to go around, that they don't have that scarcity mentality. Yeah, dead on.
Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, the
I
third
had
thing I
somebody
would
in my-
recommend, the third thing I would do as a new agent. So one, I would put the systems in place. Two, I would start role playing so that the communication. I heard a great quote yesterday. Somebody said that transaction cannot happen until a conversation happens. In other words,
You're
you
right.
need to master the arts of conversation, of communicating with people. So role play, set up systems, and the third would be I would preview properties daily, study the market daily. That's part of the core confidence and competence that you need to bring in as an agent. Know your market, know what's selling, know what's pending, what's not selling and why. Preview daily, get to know the market daily. If you have these three things in place to start out, you're on a good path. Would you agree with that? Would you add anything to it, Jason?
Oh, I agree 100% with you. I don't even think I would add anything to it. I think that, I mean, man, if they set up a schedule, if they get on a schedule just like
Yep.
your regular job, you
Yep.
got the time that you show up and the time you leave. I mean, that's the biggest thing for me is my schedule. I live and die by my schedule.
Do you?
And just showing up, doing the activities that are going to make you money. And I mean, there's a lot of people talking about a lot of different things, but we talked about this a couple of minutes before we started. Gary Vaynerchuk and Ryan Fletcher talked about, each agent, agents should be becoming their own media company and how you can build business. And that's fantastic if you want to do your own podcast about your local market, instead of create content. But the problem that I see, and please correct me and tell me your thoughts, but the problem I see with doing that is it's great if you can do it, but a lot of that's going to be long-term business. You
Yes.
got to create a lot of content to get known.
And I
you got to
agree with
create a
that.
lot of content to do enough business. And most agents don't have the money to wait on that business to come.
Yes. Yes. I am all for new format. I love video. We are actually finishing up a course for real estate agents, how to do very inexpensive, simple videos just with iPhone. And it's going to be really awesome, but it's not one of those tools that you launch a video and tomorrow you're going to get inbox full of emails or phone calls coming in from people who want to list their house. It doesn't work that way. Are these things important? Of course. Facebook and YouTube and social media in general, all that should be part of the arsenal. But that's something that
it's another lead source.
You grow to it. You know what I mean? Excuse me. It becomes part of the expanded systems that you put in place. But if you don't have the core lead generation systems in place first, you're fucked. It's never going to work. You can't just sit on your ass for a year until your blog finally takes off and gets enough traction and readership for it to make you any real money. That just doesn't work that way.
You're right. I don't believe the blog with 10 posts by a brand new realtor. I don't believe the general public's really reading.
Well,
that.
and there is one more problem with it that I have. Not in mind is blogging. I have a blog. I do videos and all that stuff. There is the core problem. We are in such a information overload times right now. The amount and the volume and the rapid speed at which we're bombarded by information is just insane. So to me, it is foolish to think that there will be some sellers who will get on the computer and start searching for real estate blogs because they need more information. I just don't believe that to be a reality. I don't know any agent who can be fairly new agent right now, start blogging intelligently in an interesting format and start generating high volume of business out of that. I don't think that's possible. Introduce me. If you guys happen to know of anybody, please have them contact me. I would love to do a video interview with them because that would be fascinating to hear. Now, I can give you many examples of the people who follow these simple principles, not necessarily my students who own my product. Some do, some don't. But the principles are the same. The systems that they have in place are the same. They have a lead generation, core lead generation funnels with high probability leads. They have some kind of follow-up. They are good communicators, and they have a good listing presentation. That's what they all have in common,
You're right.
Every single one.
I agree with you. I've seen the same thing. I mean, that's
Your
all I
business
have.
is run the same way, right? You work.
Yeah,
Are
right.
FSBOs your main source of your business right now?
Oh yeah, making calls.
Right.
That's my
So you
main source
contact
of business.
FSBOs. You have a follow-up to keep in touch with them.
You're right.
Right. You are a
My
good
main source of
communicator.
business
You
here.
mentioned earlier you know how to overcome objections, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And then the last part, when they say, Jason, come on down, we're thinking about selling, you know exactly what to do. You walk them through the process. And at the end, most of the time, you walk away with a listing contract if you want it.
You're right.
That's the whole formula,
I have a
right there.
process and system I follow, and the thing is, my process and system, Borino, it's not magic. It's just I've done it over and over so many times. I know all the objections and I know all the questions they're going to ask me. You know?
Yeah, but that's the cool thing about the repetition of practice, because you accelerate it. Because you can imagine how good you become, or you have become, Jason, doing listing presentation 50 times. If you sit in front of a seller 50 times,
You're right.
you're gonna get good at that
Yes,
stuff.
sir.
So if you role play that 50 times, maybe you're not gonna be as good, but you're gonna be damn good if you did 50 role play listing presentations, especially if somebody else can
You're
critique
right.
you and give you feedback. So it's the same concept.
And you know, I tell people all the time, like sometimes I'll talk about my numbers, and sometimes my numbers are insane some days. But I've been making these same calls to for sale owners and expireds and follow-up calls for literally 12 years. I mean, I don't know how many calls I've made, but I've listed a ton of property. I'm sure I know I've been on 1,500 listing appointments.
Wow. Now let me ask you this, Jason.
Yeah.
Given your experience, now I know I'm turning the interview around, now I'm interviewing Jason. We're going to do an interview with Jason. I would love to talk to you more about how you do this.
I've enjoyed this, man. I could do 3 more hours of questions with you. I have tons of stuff I want to ask.
Maybe we'll do part 2. But don't you feel like there's very little they can ask or do or say that would throw you off?
I do feel like that. There's very little, sellers don't have new questions and new objections. Every now and then you'll have something new like the hurricane.
Yeah.
And
but given your level of expertise and confidence, even if that comes up, you know how to handle it. You know how to approach it.
Oh yeah, I've got a listing agreement right now that I agree with the guy we wouldn't take pictures and stuff until I come back next week.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to do with a lot of those. I mean,
right.
Let's go ahead and sign the paperwork now. I'll come out and take pictures next week. It won't go on the market until your roof's fixed or whatever's fixed.
But you got it locked in.
And,
nobody else can come in and steal that from you. Yeah, perfect.
That's right. I'm the listing agent. Yeah, nobody can swoop in and take it from me or anything. He's locked in with me. Yeah. But after you do it over and over again, and I tell agents that a lot of the agents' problems with their script is they don't use a script long enough to know all the answers to the questions.
Right.
They'll use a script for a week and say, "Hey, I don't like this one," and they throw it away and they move on to somebody else's because they think there's a magic question in it.
Yeah.
And I think it's unreal, but man, I really appreciate you being on this call with me today. I feel like I learned a lot myself.
We planned to go for half an hour. I think we exceeded that, didn't we?
Yeah, we exceeded that a little bit. I got a 1:00 appointment.
All right, man, you go get him, crush it.
Hey, I'm going to stop the recording. Hey, so let me ask you one other question before we stop the recording.
Sure.
So if somebody wanted to get in touch with you or find more about your courses or anything, where would they go?
You guys, look me up on Facebook, Borino. I'm on Facebook. We also have a great group. It's called Real Estate Rockstars, Rockstar Agents. I'm there 2-3 times a day just chatting with people, answering questions. Or you can just hit me up on the email, borino@expertplus.com. Would love to chat with you.
That sounds great, man. I'm going to stop the recording now.
All right, Jason.